So I'm back in the shop again, and I'm going to go ahead and patch up this hole in the firewall. I kind of moved on to this instead of the trunk because I want to get this motor set in here as soon as I can. So once I get this patched up and a couple little holes, and I'm not going to do anything real special with this firewall, but I just want to get this stuff cleaned up and smoothed out real quick, and then I can jam the motor in, and I'll free up some space on the floor in the shop here. So I'll knock this out, and then once I get all this welded up, I'll jump back on the trunk and keep on moving forward. Alrighty, so looking at this, like, I don't know, there's a million holes all around here, these holes and everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all these spot welds off here, cut this whole piece out and replace that whole piece. And I made just a little cardboard template that's going to sit on there, transfer it over to my sheet metal, and I'll just make a big old patch, and then that'll solve all the holes and everything. And I'll just have couple spot welds and then just a seam down here and across there. So that's about the easiest way to do that, I think. So we're gonna go for it. I'm committed now, so I cut the bulk of this stuff out of the way, and I left it, and that's my line there, I left it a little bit big because I'd like to get my panel in there, and I'll cut that seam together with the other panel. And then now I'll cut this up, start grinding out all these little spot welds, get that little hoop out, and then slap my panel in. Alright, so I went ahead and I got all this trimmed up. It's just barely balancing in here. I just kind of set it on the edge there. But I went ahead, got my spot welds drilled. Everything's cut. I basically tack welded it to the firewall where I wanted it. Went inside, traced out the back so I could get my lines here right and trimmed it to size. But yeah, if you guys have never used any of these little clamps, these are great. They will go between this little seam and suck everything nice and flush and give you a nice little weld gap to fill. And they're a super handy thing, and you can get them all over the place, Harbor Freight, stuff like that. But yeah, if you don't have these and you're doing this stuff, get some of these things. They're a lifesaver. So yeah, just something to add to your collection. Well, I got it all clamped in. I put a couple of screws up here to suck it tight into the firewall. These things gap it and pull it nice and flush along there. Got all around the sides. Yeah, this thing's, I think, ready to weld. I think, yeah, I'll probably pull it apart, put some weldable primer on there just so I can seal up. Mainly it's these spot welds I'm worried about, that gap in between there. It'll get seam sealed on both sides, but it's good preventative. So now that I got it all fit and I like how it is, I'm going to pop it apart and spray prime it and then throw it together, and I can burn this thing in. Alrighty, well, this kind of worked out because this is really the only edge I'm too worried about. This will be getting a butt weld. This is the only one getting spot welded in. It's kind of a couple different layers. So I was actually able to just pull my screws out, get that sprayed in between. Yeah, it's all running down here, but I'm not worried. This is all going to get sand off. And this primer isn't like a primer like car primer. It's mainly it basically galvanizes your welds and seals them. So yeah, so it's like all this stuff on the outside will get stripped off, and it'll just be what's in between underneath. And again, when you're welding something like this, patience is a virtue. It's just polka dots all the way around, leave plenty of gap between them. You don't want to warp a big flat panel like this, and keep it, almost to where you can touch it. I mean, you don't want to get a lot of heat in there and stuff. And just really pay attention to it. If you see it, or if you can't hold your hand on it, stop for a minute, or, blow it off with some air. But just kind of keep it, pretty cool, and just go around and, just keep polka dotting it around there. And I mean, they look like crap when you're done, but once you grind everything, it'll look fine. But yeah, we're almost done. We almost have a smooth firewall. So once this is welded in, there's a couple little holes here and here and stuff, and we'll get those addressed, and yeah, this thing will be looking pretty good. Alrighty, well, I got it all welded in, and as I was welding and kind of waiting for things to cool, I ground my spot welds up there and stuff. But yeah, these welds are not pretty at all, but they're just dots, and you're just kind of filling in the gaps, and I still got these little holes to weld. But yeah, I'm going to grind this all down and see what it looks like, and yeah, we're about done with this project. Well, I'm done for the night, so I got that all completed, and yeah, it fits up nice and tight in the seam. I got it as I went along. I just kind of tapped the edges and everything. Yeah, there's a little bit of a weld seam there, but a little mud on her and stuff, and she ought to come around and look pretty good. So I'm happy with that, and I'll get the other little dots here filled in tomorrow. But yeah, it's just another little step that's done. So I wasn't really expecting to do this firewall, but I figured before I put the motor in, it'd be kind of cool to have it done. I may either just do a regular, some kind of aftermarket heater, or I might put vintage air in it, and with that, things are going to be in different spots anyway. So it just kind of cleans it up. And then, yeah, I got to pull the brake master and everything off, so I figure I'll fix or fill in whatever holes and everything are on that side. And just this thing will be all smooth. And the way I did this, it still kind of looks like a factory firewall, other than it just don't have the big holes in it. So it's not totally butchered or anything. So yeah, it's just kind of, I don't know, I'm just playing around. So I don't know if I'm going to restore this thing or just prime it and drive it. I can't picture it in any other color but primer and yellow for some reason. So it may get painted yellow. It might just stay primer. I don't know. But for now, that's done, and we can cross that off the list, and we are really close to being able to put a motor in this thing again. So stay tuned.